Hello everyone and welcome to another VOD review. We have the Seoul Derby, the Seoul Brawl, the Seoul... I don't know. You guys come up with a comment below. Tell me what you guys think this Seoul v Seoul matchup should be called. But it is going to be the Dynasty taking on the Infernal. This happened on LAN. There was a bunch of cool intro stuff. I recommend you go check out the VOD on the Overwatch League YouTube if you want to see the cool... Korean style Overwatch video that they did. The two teams talking trash about each other. Profit, called Prophet. Stupid. It was honestly hilarious. But there's also, happened on LAN. There's a lot of cool things to see these players play in a LAN environment. But we're not going to go over that in this VOD review. Otherwise, it'll take forever. This is a Map 5 banger. Spoilers if you don't know. But it is just a series that goes the distance. So I'm excited to check this one out and sort of talk about this. This was the first cast that me and Jaws did for the Overwatch League this year, doing it in the APAC region. So it was a lot of fun, and it was a great match. I would say, in general, as we can just get this one kicking off, it wasn't the best match, right? I wouldn't say this was like, I watched this and I was like, these are the two best teams. These guys are going to be great in the East. It was entertaining as hell. But it wasn't the best Overwatch. And there's some fumbles, there's some questionable decisions from both sides. But there's some consistent themes that we'll talk about as the series goes on. Are you going to be doing more APAC casting in the future? I will always be doing bits and pieces of APAC throughout the season, but I will primarily be an NA caster. The Seoul. Seoul Infernal tried everything they could to run away from the Fusion reputation, yet it failed them. Sometimes you always got to come off second best, Yeah, I am going to try and keep the audio low, which might mean that we don't hear much of the game, but that's because I don't want to hear myself, and I don't want you guys to hear me twice and get confused and all that kind of stuff. I love that it's a little black box theater. It's a cute little theater, right? And this is, Overwatch esports is a successful esport, right? But it doesn't, you can't sell a big crowd. Keep it small, keep it simple. It's a really great event, honestly.
Seoul Infernal versus Seoul Dynasty, the first Seoul Brawl.
So Prophet, it was interesting seeing Prophet come through. In general, he liked the Ashe, while MN3 played a lot more Hanzo. Bit of a feed by Bellisria. And Bellisria was like a late signing to the Seoul Dynasty, and I think all of us can agree, an important signing for this team, because Void is a great tank. We can all agree to that. Oh my god, disgusting. He's a great tank, but Void isn't a main tank. He's, in his history of his career, has never played main tank, so we had those questions around the Dynasty of like, are they going to be able to play main tanks, right? And that was one of the reasons I had Seoul Dynasty so low going into this season as well, because we knew that Seoul were going to be struggling. And I can reference back to my power rankings that I did just, feels like a week ago. I think it was a week ago when I said, I don't think Seoul Dynasty are going to be that great. I'm worried that Prophet isn't going to have that sort of drive and dog in him to really be the best player. But Prophet pretty handily said fuck you to me and proved how great of a player he still is, and that he has what it takes to carry this Dynasty team to success. But the other concern I had of why this Dynasty team was put in, I think I put them in like 15th or 14th, was they didn't have that tank for Void. And I think Bellisria is a good signing. His Winston solid, his Wrecking Ball solid. We even saw some high quality Doomfist for him towards the end. So I'm excited to see more of this Dynasty team, because there's a lot of upside. We didn't see much Krill and Lucio, I think, but I think from what I did see, I wasn't in love with it. This was also like a hyper aggressive hold by the Seoul Infernal, and I don't think I love it. So they held in a place that we haven't seen many people do, which is like towards spawn, and I don't think that gives your backline the advantage that you want. Like, you can just play them back and you have that advantage. So if you want to hold close, that's great, but they used, what, 4 ultimates? 5 with Zest using a pulse bomb to try and hold that close spawn, and it didn't work. Like, obviously they got some percentage. They won a couple of fights, so like one fight. But now Seoul Dynasty has the point, and they have the rally and all that type of stuff. Dynasty is a sleeper pick team. I'm still not sold that this team's going to be great. Like, I don't want to overreact to just one match. and be like, I take back everything I said about this team, right? It is just one match, and as I said, Seoul Infernal at times felt like they didn't want to win.
What's that? Wait a second. MN3 just diving straight towards Bellisria, who's going pretty low. Speaking of dives, you don't really...
Yeah, I don't know how much I trust Krilla to carry. I just worry that if they do have to play Lucio and Lucio does become hard meta, then it can be worrying about them. Prophet's Sombra as well was pretty hit and miss throughout this series. Like, his Sombra had it, you know, it was important, especially to, you know, towards the end, but like there were some questionable choices.
Wow, somehow managed to catch Victor. It looked like he went onto the shield, but not to be. They're forced to recall already and just left out to dry.
Infernal vs Dynasty, who has the better team based on the match? Just on the match, right? Like, here's my take, is I think, you know, like, I'm just going to spoil it, and that's usually how I do when I talk about these matches. Dynasty goes on to win this match, which is wild, right? But at the end of the day, I think Seoul Infernal looked like the better team. I was actually quite impressed with Mag on this Winston. And, you know, we got to keep an eye on him throughout this one. That's a good sleep on the Bellisria, who gets nanoed. But I actually think Mag looked quite good in this series. Like, I was a little worried that he's just a cursed player who's never going to live up to the expectation. But I actually think he looked quite comfortable. The dives with Zest were coordinated. I think there was a lot of positives to take out of that. Nano onto the Hanzo, just to keep him alive. I like it. I thought when Dynasty was winning, Infernal still looked better. Yeah, I think Infernal were the better team in this series. You know, obviously Seoul closed it out and they were clutch where they needed to be. And that's, like, that is an important, like, factor that your team can have. And honestly, this man right here, Prophet, that is something that's made him one of the greatest players of all time, is like, he's just clutch. Whenever you need Prophet to be clutch, he is clutch. And I think that's it's a big moment, right? Like, he gets that pulse bomb, opens the door, Bellisria is able to get them, and then he gets the other support. Like, Prophet just, like, has that X factor that some players just don't have.
Yeah, Mag does have the primal, so he will be able to be the one who comes in late touch, so we should be an even matchup. MN3 on this Widowmaker has to find value because the damage is going to be so low for them without that.
When they need it, he opens his backpack. Yeah, get on in, kids. Oh my god, that was a... Like, look at that juggle, bro. That was such a good juggle. Even though he doesn't get a kill, he heavily displaces the Dynasty, right? Like, that was still a great juggle by Mag, but no one can touch. Let me pause. I hate this Widow swap. Like, hate it. I brought it up in the cast, but it's like, he needs to kill, like, 2 people to justify this pick. He gets 1, which is like a body shot onto Prophet, which isn't, like, crazy, but you need to find big value. Otherwise, he's just better off coming back on, like, any other character. Like, if he just came back on Soldier to run back fast, he can do that chip damage, and if they don't deal with him, he's just going to find, like, things. And, like, he also couldn't be one of the people to touch, so that's why potentially they C9. There's so many other picks that are better, and it's not like we are playing, you know, King's Row 3rd point, you know, the famous clip where Fleta comes out and headshot after headshot, right? That makes sense because you're in such a defensive spot and, like, you don't have to run back to the point, really, and you have long sightlines. That's not really this map in general. So, wasn't in love with this choice, but, you know, it is what it is. And that's a fight that, you know, we talked about how Seoul Infernal were the better team for the series. That was a round where I agree with that. I think Infernal had a great start, playing aggressive, better dives, but then they, like, just sort of got stuck, got isolated. Like, they went aggressive there with Mag's Primal, and they were in a good spot, but Prophet just finding value.
Highlights from both sides, but of course, no one could ever doubt this man that was going to find some value on this Tracer, just leading the charge, getting value with these pulse bombs, really opening things up, while on the other hand,
Hey, Snowman.
that Tracer...
Oh, P. There was a bunch of pauses throughout this match. So this was interesting by Seoul Dynasty. Came out to play this Metra Reinhardt composition. We see this from a couple of teams here and there. It's been okay. Like, chat, what do you think of this? Because we've seen multiple teams try this, and I feel like it works a little bit, but I feel like eventually it just loses. Like, I prefer the Ramatra in general, and I think it works better against Winston's, because I think we see it from Infernal here after. It just, like, if you spread the Reinhardt too thin in the Symmetra, it just kind of feels kind of weak.
poison. I'm surprised we don't see a switch come out from skewed in.
But Swing Hammer gives big dopamine. Yeah, but you can't, like, look at him. Bellasseria's just over there holding his shield like, I'm doing it, guys. Look at me. I'm helping.
Well, Prophet's gonna turn up the microwave to full there. Nice little TP.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's the value, right? That they get skewed, they teleport on. But this is a great adjustment by Infernal, being like, oh, well, if you're going to do that, we're just going to, like, shoot everyone in the back, right? They just essentially let skewed die, put out a lot of pressure, let skewed die, but then they just murdered the backline of the Dynasty. Because if Dynasty are going aggressive, their backline needs to come with them. And it's hard to live as a Baptiste against, like, Winston Tracer when you don't really have, like, that much coordination and defensive utility. Like, Lucio doesn't help you that much. In the same way that, like, a Brig does. So you went from being a liability to a trap. Yeah, and, like, at some point you have to just accept that your Ana's going to die in this. If they're going to play the Symmetra and TP bomb your Ana as soon as they see you. Yeah, like, Mag once again doing work, right? Like, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He goes aggressive, they drop the window, zones them off, forces them back, pops the primal, pushes them into the room. They have to turn to deal with him, and then boom, someone gets picked, right? I think it was Krillin who ended up getting picked because of that disruption. So, like, that's just good coordinated play from the Winston.
No, maybe not. Okay. Maybe not. Not conservative enough for Seoul Dynasty. Maybe.
You think Fixer is bringing Infernal potential down? I think it's too early to say that it's bringing Fixer potential down. I think the Fixer is a liability for this Infernal squad is, like, maybe being blown out of proportion. I think it's not really fair to him as a player at this point. Like, it's more of a wait and see at this point. He played fine in this series. Like, I didn't really notice him, which for a main support, if you don't notice the main support, you're doing fine, right? It's hard to notice how good a main support is because, like, it's very unique factors, and the best way we notice them is just, like, random boop kills or big unique plays. But, like, there's a Shadow, there's a great beat. He's doing his job, right? Dynasty swap here is insane. To the Sombra, like, I just don't like the Reinhardt Sombra Tracer. Like, yeah, what is this comp doing for Seoul? They get the I think they just wanted to use the Shadow, and it ends up winning them the fight. You know, they nano, they beat. But now he's stuck on Reinhardt, and I think it's a hard fight to win.
Scouting, he can give them information to choose when they want to go in. If he gets up to this EMP, it's going to be hard for the Infernal to deal with.
Yeah, if they do go for a big dive, easy EMT target, and you're going to get burned pretty quickly. The focus fire, especially from a Tracer, you can blink.
Bellasseri just walking clump at nothing yet. Like, watch Bellasseri just get kited around here and offer absolutely nothing. He genuinely just needs to pin across the map and hope he finds success. Like, just hold your shield, give your team a little bit of space, but look at them. They're just hunting. They're just waiting to find somebody to kill. That was ambitious by Zest. Mag goes down, though. I think he thought he was going to get up to his primal, and he just doesn't. Kills Lee Soo-min on the way out is actually a wild. If he doesn't kill Lee Soo-min here, this fight probably just ends. Dynasty doing a good job of kiting him. Yeah, like, honestly, end a disengage. And this is something that Dynasty did pretty well throughout this entire series of, like, recognize, like, there's a lot of teams that would have died on that hill of trying to hold that point. But Dynasty are like, you know what? Let's just back up and take an even 5v5 fight. We have EMP, we have the ultimates to re-engage. Like, instead of forcing an engage, just be like, fuck it, just concede. They know they had time on the clock against the Infernal. That allows you to EMP skewed. Boom, Bellasseri following it up as a Reinhardt. Hits the pin, gets M3. Like, honestly, Bellasseri actually gets pretty good value from this Reinhardt, all things considered. But I don't think that would be very consistent. Like, I think Infernal didn't respond very well to this. I think the Infernal should have won this, but honestly, just good individual play by the Dynasty, right? Like, really able to, like, close things out. And I think that fight before where Mag just, like, dove in and died for free was, like, cost them a lot. Mag gets the nano, but it's not going to be enough. Ram just seems better than Ryan. It's because you have outside of Nemesis form, when you have your little staff and you can just like zippity zap them from distance, at least you can offer something, right? And then Ramatra, as soon as they dive, you can go into Nemesis form, you can punch some people, and that's value, right? Like, you're getting something out of that. where Reinhardt doesn't really do anything from any range. But the Reinhardt upside is what you just saw of, like, if you hit pins and, like, you can get value from the shatters, the Reinhardt is very strong. And that is a map and a round that I think you can make it work with the Reinhardt. But I would say overall net value, I would expect the Ramatra to get more.
Shanghai Dragons with the Zenyatta, with the Wrecking Ball. What this allows you to do is play incredibly
Yeah,
defensive with your backline while allowing Mag to just play aggressively. It could be more difficult to do with a Brig player because you can't pack from as far away, which actually could come into play. But you know,
I disagree with that, Atlanta Rain Data. I don't know if you're just saying stuff to say stuff, but I think Skewed is definitely not the problem in this series. And I think Skewed is a great flex support player who has just been stuck in Brig jail.
Both sides.
it's an interesting look because we haven't seen any Wrecking Ball at all throughout the West, and I don't think many people were anticipating this, but this is a good map for Wrecking Ball.
Well, I think you're also trolling me because I realized at the end, I didn't read your whole sentence. You said opener on Ana would be radical. Oh, that's a Fixer doubt. Oh, you were talking about Fixer. Okay, Fixer's a main support. Okay, well, I see what you've fallen. Fixer's a main support player. Scooter's the flex support. I don't know if I agree that Open is better than Fixer. Like, I don't agree with that. Remember, you're rating people relative to the team that they were on, right? Like, Opener was good, but he also had some really bad matches last. Prophet is just getting opening pick after opening pick. He's just doing actually so much.
This is my formal apology. I'm sorry. This is my formal apology to all Prophet
starts
fans
now.
and Prophet
Little triple
himself.
kill there for Prophet.
Opener in contenders has been very good. Yeah, but like,
Opening it up for the Seoul Dynasty.
was Fixer? Why do people think Fixer is really bad? Like, I'm not out here saying Fixer is, you know, the next, you know, Lee J Gon or, you know, like the best main support in the league, but Fixer's fine in my opinion. I don't agree with the amount of doubt that's coming in for this guy, and I don't think Opener is just going to be a dramatic increase or for Infernal.
People that are super low could
He's also on O2. Yeah, he's like open. It's pretty easy to play well on a team that's probably one of the best teams in that contenders, while also playing against much worse teams, right? Like, I'm sure I genuinely believe Fixer would probably dominate in contenders as well.
I like the way Seoul Infernal are playing though, Scott. This is the second time they've kind of just done this touch the spawn challenge. They really like to get up and
While on O2 Blast.
And it's a good strategy because if you're the offensive team, you don't want to commit ultimates or commit resources trying to get outside of your spawn door. So you're really relying on exactly that by Prophet finding these opening picks. So Prophet finding value on this Hanzo, and let's see if the Seoul Infernal decide to go more aggressive with numbers down. But it looks
Feeding takes so much value away. Well, it's like, you know, Lee J Gon I think is a prime example of the cost benefit of having an incredibly aggressive Lucio, right? And like main support player, it's like, yeah, sometimes Lee J Gon just goes absolutely psycho and he like has big impact and he does stuff, but like we also see Lee J Gon just do some terrible things from time to time, like just straight up like heinous, like, bro, what was that? But I think people are more likely to forgive that because we see so much like crazy upside.
the Wrecking Ball. If you get isolated or bashed or slowed down in any way, that Discord orb and the amount of
Yeah, I don't know why both teams ended up playing Wrecking Ball here. This is like something that I guess we haven't really like talked about. The elephant in the room is like, we didn't see Wrecking Ball from absolutely anyone, but both of these teams decided to roll out on Wrecking Ball Briggs Zen like it's the Dragons in 2020.
we haven't seen more of it.
I love it though, it's so fun. It is a really good meta. But I also think, like, why did neither team play Sombra? If you're gonna play Wrecking Ball Zen Brig, just go Sombra. But both teams pretty, like, I think both teams really didn't want to play a lot of Sombra. They were a lot more confident in the Hanzo.
angle for Skew too. You can just throw volleys left, right, and center. Yeah, right down the middle.
Bellassria forced ball. Yeah, Bellassria's always liked playing ball. Like, same with Mag, right? They've both been ball players, but,
It's just a
you know, it's just so hard. And I didn't really like this setup for Seoul Dynasty, especially with the Hanzo here as well, right? Like, they're not really doing anything. And this is going to be a consistent theme over the next little bit. It's like, they're playing this Brig Zen, which is incredibly greedy, but they're also going against a Brig Zen. So, Bellassria can't do anything on his own because it's just too much damage. Then their backline can't get any space. They're just sort of trying to go through this right room, but they're just getting haunted and hunted down by like Zest, and then they got right clicks from Skewed, they got arrows from MN3, and it just feels like they're not really accomplishing anything. We do get the Sombra Swip here from Prophet, which I do like.
One of the primary reasons we haven't seen more Wrecking Ball be
Wobble, wobble, motherfucker.
Sombra is just such
Chivo, thank you for the 10 months.
you can hack him
Kind of a missed storyline, but that is Bello versus his old team. I actually realized that about after the fact. I guess I didn't really think about it because, like, obviously the Bells Rare edition happened so late that I wasn't really, like, when I was thinking about it and doing my notes, that wasn't really something that was at the top of my list. But it's kind of hard to talk about these players as if, like, they're going to their old team when, you know, there's usually not that many consistencies, but I guess you could say there was in this instance. Briggs End is very hard to work here without picks, and that's it, right? It's like, well, how do you engage here, right? You can see Bellis Rhea really trying to get space and find opportunities to go in, but there's no real follow-up that it feels like right now. You just got Krillin and Lee Soo-min stuck here, and this just happened over and over again, where it's like they're trying to set up for this dive, they're trying to get in position, and they just keep getting picked. Do you have notes on things you talk about? Yeah. Usually going into every single match, I like, it's not like extensive notes, but I always like, before I go into a match, I usually like to write down, like, what are the storylines I really want to hit? What are the ideas that I think are important? What are the things to look out for, etc. And, you know, we get research packets and we get documents and stuff like that that give interesting stats, that give interesting ideas and sort of like bridge those gaps. So this was a really interesting rally from Krillin. Like, they lose Lee Soo-min and then he's like, yo, you know what time it is? It's rally time. It ends up working, but my problem with that is that it cost them rally and mines. And Seoul Infernal did a good job of playing aggressive to the point that they actually can step back up. But Zest going 1-for-1 here is wild. In a 2v1, he ends up getting Bellis Rhea. That's so important because now their team can step up and they just like hard pocket MN3. EMP's good, but then as soon as Skew gets his Transcendence off, they're in trouble. Can we see your notes? No.
Yeah, and Lee Soo-min used his Transcendence as well, so they didn't even gain an advantage here. So the EMP kind of going by the wayside without that follow-up, and Zest is just such a thorn on the side of the Seoul Dynasty. They want to move forward, but they just can't. As you can see, Prophet trying to help the backline out a little bit. As we're going into overtime, this is last fight for this second point.
Yeah, I think Prophet not getting much value from that EMP. Like, it was not a bad EMP. It hit a lot of people, but the follow-up wasn't there because Bellis Rhea died, right? Because Bellis Rhea died, it didn't feel like they had the slam, so there's just enough time for Skew to end up getting the Transcendence out, and it's just overtime, dangerous push. Infernal looked really well practiced. Yeah, this is definitely a good meta for them. Like, Scoot is a great Zenyatta player. I think Fixer on the Brig is a good look. MN3 on the hit scan. The only thing I would say is that it felt like MN3 really didn't want to play the Sombra. Like, he much prefers playing that hit scan, which makes sense, but... Good hold from Infernal, yeah. And I think it was a good hold. I don't like the Wrecking Ball setup on attack. Even on first point, like... I don't know if I loved what they did. I think it could have been difficult, but like Prophet just kind of killed everyone. So I think it kind of covered up, but Prophet can't do the same thing on second point. It's so hard for a Tracer to move around at this point because the backline can play so defensive. They mirrored? Yeah, but then let's go over to the other side. They don't mirror on the other side's attacks, right? Right? Like, Seoul Infernal realized, like, I think ball's hard on attack. I like the ball on defense because your backline can play pretty safe. And your ball can be aggressive, but on attack, I think it's too easy for your backline to get, like, never be able to move forward, and the dive can be difficult to set up. What is the win con around EMP, seeing as hack, seeing as you can't lock out CDs for, like, 8 seconds? You just kill them before the 1 second comes up, right? Like, it does a lot of damage, and if you have any follow-up, like, things will usually die, and... If you want to see how you get value from hacks and EMPs, I think Lip is a prime example for the Atlanta Reign. And the way that they play around Lip, like, they bullied poor Halo on the New York Excelsior. It wasn't great. Also, this life grip pedal stuff, it's got to go in the bin. It really ain't worth it. It's fun. I love it. But, you know, if we're looking from a competitive standpoint, it's just not useful. It's oh, wow, dude, Prophet almost just died. I think Overwatch 1 EMP will be the most impactful ultimate of all time. Yeah, maybe, right? The current EMP is good, but it's not as much of a press Q and just default win. The way the best teams and players seem to be using EMP these days is you just hack and then EMP one person, and you just murder them. Like, getting a 4-man EMP doesn't really mean much if you can't follow through on at least one player. Oof, that was close. Lifeweaver looking to be the Torbjorn of things. Yeah, Lifeweaver is just really struggling as a character right now. Dynasty's giving a lot of space here.
If the Dynasty do not find a pick before then, they might be in a little bit of trouble. As you can see, Bellisria recognizing the threat, takes down Scoot, takes down Fixer, and now they just need to keep their own backline alive.
Yeah, that's an easy dive there from Bellisria.
It also seemed some robbers were using the fear of EMP as psychological warfare. Yeah, like, you know, that's been a consistent thing since the beginning of time of, like, the fear of EMP is better than the EMP itself. Of, like, the entire opposition team has to have their, like, team play in a very different way against an EMP. So if you just don't use it and you spread the team thin because of that. But it's not as good anymore with the changes to EMP, but Torb is good. Torb wasn't good in the past. I think they're using that as, like, a... In the past, Torb was a very niche and just overall just not a very good character before a lot of his reworks came through. Dude, look at how scared the backline is playing from Infernal. MN3, that's so fortunate for Seoul that they ended up logging Lee Soo Min. That's such a random thing. I don't know how MN3 ends up dying to that dragon. That dragon was from like a far away. I wonder if it just like surprise came through the wall for him. Level 3 turret, dude. Do you remember when we were playing TF2 engineer for Torbjorn? So rally in from Krillin to like try and get an overtime touch going. They have the ultimates to be able to do this, so I don't hate it. There was a spawn dragon from MN3. There's actually something that was kind of awkward in this series and in APAC in general. It felt like the textures that they were using for certain abilities were like other skins. Like I think the Infernal have the color of the Seoul Dynasty dragon as well right now. So, or maybe it was the Philadelphia Fusion one still. I don't know. It's hard to really tell.
You're going to have to keep an eye. He's going to go aggressive. He's going to want to try and be disruptive and give his team that space to hopefully open up a pick for MN3.
Charge out Sparkles, yeah.
Sonic arrow, so it was revealed for a brief moment. Prophet taking a lot of damage. Oh, just trying to
Whoa. Whoa, this is just Prophet's getting it, feeling himself. I don't know how no one died. Who the hell's Seoul Infernal? Seoul Infernal is the Philadelphia Fusion. And like you can see the difference here of like I think the Ana Brig is just so much more defensible and can like heal and get more value. And MN3's just hitting shots. Yeah, MN3's Hunter was really impressive in this series, in my opinion. Like, he's really following on from his performance in 2022, where he's just an absolute powerhouse who just finds picks out of nowhere. And good whip shot from Fixer. Honestly, I think Fixer's playing well. And I think I need to like keep hammering that home. I think Fixer and the Seoul Infernal come back a lot better and a lot stronger in this Winston composition. Like, there's a pretty common theme throughout this series that if Seoul Infernal were ever able to just play these Winston compositions, like Winston Brigana, they were just better. But Seoul had a lot more flexibility in their warehouse. This map, if you want to see what not to do on this map, keep watching, because this was just some heinous crimes. I don't know what they were cooking with some of these ideas. First of all, Void gets subbed in to play the Reinhardt on defense. Make it make sense. But you're in for a treat on this one. On whose behalf? Yes.
In this series anyway, like, oh, Bastion. Yes. Okay. A little Bastion mode. All right. Okay. No TP, but they still have speed boost, so they can still kind of get the Bastion around. Prophet gonna rock.
Infernal deserve a title so much. It's actually crazy they never won anything with, as you said, how consistently good the Philadelphia Fusion have been throughout the history of time. All right, so here we see Seoul Dynasty comes in and holds a close spawn against the Infernal. But in general, when you think about maps that are worth close holding on, right? Like it's ones where you can get multiple attacks, but you have just like a defensive advantage. And it's usually because they have very few doors that they can walk out of. Like, it's just like they can really only go out these couple of narrow doors. Like, think about Havana. Like, there's a couple of narrow doors, but for the most part, they have to stream out of the same spot. So it's kind of hard to spread out and do damage and stuff like that. You're walking out into the open. That doesn't exist for Shimbali Monastery. You can see they just walk out multiple doors, and it just like works really easily. But then Seoul Infernal playing a Bastion Mercy with their Omacha, which I just don't agree with as well. Void ends up pinning MN3 in spawn. We get a res out of the spawn door. So Void's just going to die. I wasn't in love with it, especially with like how good this defensive high ground is up over here. Like, this is a really good spot. And if you hold here, you get two fights anyway. Like, I don't think you can make this a 3-fight map, because like what you're thinking is like you take that spawn hold and then you take the fight here, right? Then you take the point up here. But I don't think if you try and hold here, you're going to get a consistent fight on the third point. Like, you can. I just don't think it's going to happen that consistently, and a lot of things can like fall away for that. So obviously it's working for them so far, but I genuinely think that's because Seoul Infernal have decided to keep the Mercy Bastion on attack. Like, maybe they're like, oh, in the Brawl Mirror, we'll just play the Bastion Mercy and delete Void, which is fine, right? And like, that's a very respectful idea, but it's not good overall. Like, yeah, you can delete Void, but you know what I'd much rather have than that? A Sim, a Mei, a Hanzo, just anything with more consistent damage. And one of the big problems with Bastion just fundamentally is that his ultimate is just trash. Like, it's so hard to get value for. Why did Fix a Res? Yeah, and then Fix a Res is one? Like, I don't know. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Scuba's going to come up and kill everyone? I do like the Ryan Sim hold here, but I feel like this could be countered pretty easily by just going through this bottom left mega. Like, I think trying to go through this choke is like walking into a trap. Like, this is literally, this whole comp from Seoul is literally built to hold this choke. Like, why don't they just go around? Like, there's literally a doorway here that allows them to walk up here. It's kind of hard for Seoul to match this kind of aggression if they try and go through here. Yeah, it can be done, but there's like a mega down here. If you can get up here, the Mei walls get really funky and difficult to use. While just trying to walk through this choke is just going to be fucking awful. Yeah, Pharah, like, if you're going to play a Mercy, just play the Pharah Mercy. I agree. Like, I think Pharah Mercy would be really strong against this Soul comp. Like, I don't think this is a good Soul thing, but, you know, I think there's a lot of things that are better than Bastion Mercy. So he's nanoed, and then he drops it. And then this was like, bro, they're like, they literally just popped everything. They nano Bastion, they dropped the Valk, they then dropped the Annihilation, and they Bastion ult. They used 5 ultimates. And because Seoul does it, you know, and I guess this goes against what I said earlier, because Seoul holds close and they just like run it down, they actually do get 3 fights on this defense. So maybe that is it all after all. Smart switch by Prophet, and this can't be understated. So many teams are like, oh, we'll touch last second. There needs to be multiple points of like who's going to touch, right? Prophet goes, oh, you know, this MTP is not going to be that valuable. I use my wall. Switches to the Tracer because Void gets wall. If Prophet doesn't make this play, they don't get this touch, and then like this whole thing is for nothing. But because they get the touch, and they held on to like a couple of their ultimates, they drop the beat, they drop the shatter. Too much damage, bro. Like, time? You fucking melons! And it's some weird decision making from the Seoul Infernal, and now they go over to the Lucio. I think they need to get off the Bastion. I think they do get off the Bastion. Like, yeah, they go to the Cassidy. So now they're just playing a normal brawl, but they have no ultimates. Prophet has held on to the Blizzard. Like, how do you win this? If anything, I'd rather see them go they go them a Pharah Mercy. Recognize that you're not going to win the head-to-head fight. And now MN3 goes back and switches to Sim. Like, whoa, what am I watching, right? Like, yeah, like maybe they have some really cool idea. And this is when I was like, maybe they have some really cool idea of how they want to fight this strategy, right? Of like, when we step up, we're going to TP behind them and that'll catch them off guard and we'll instantly kill their backliner. But I don't think you see value of that unless they're trying to like Sim TP out of the Blizzard, like try and use it to save Mag. Is that why the Sim's playing so far? I don't even know where the Sim is, honestly. I wish I could. Yeah, like, so they didn't even really like find too much value of the Sim. Actually, I guess no one died. I don't know what ended up happening with that Blizzard. The spectating was kind of hard to see. But MN3 ends up getting caught. Zest goes down as well. Finally a window for Dynasty. Dude, fucking Void is just blocking Skew's heals. As Mag's just trying to get healed and stay alive. And Skew's like, bro, shield, shield. Yeah, I can't eat shield, shield. Yeah, I think this was less so of a Seoul Dynasty playing really well. I do like the strategy of like spawn camp, three defensive fights, all that type of stuff. I don't think it's good. But it's an idea, right? It's a cool idea that they executed perfectly on their defense, but I don't think you can give them full credit because I feel like Seoul Infernal did not respond effectively to what the Dynasty was showing. Void Ryan is a pretty good weight. Maybe Void's the greatest Reinhardt player of all time. Bispy, thank you for the 55 months. Feels good subbing to the second Aussie caster. Honestly, I'll take that, you know? I usually wouldn't take that, but Mitch stays goated at number one. Yeah, and I think, you know, when we talk about Void, we definitely have to watch his defensive side. Sorry, his attack side, because Void on attack on Sigma, yeah, Void's still pretty good, chat. I'll give you a sneak peek. Void's still pretty good at the game. And then, like, MN3 comes out on Widowmaker again. Like, this is such a bad meta for Widowmaker, right? And it's like, what composition would Widowmaker be good against on this map, right? There's a lot of curves, not great sightlines. Like, they decide to come out on Pharah Mercy, then yeah, maybe there's some Widow value. But like, it's not good against the Winston dive stuff if Seoul comes out on that. Maybe they're anticipating they're not playing this. Maybe they know that they're going to play the Sigma comp. But even if they are going to play the Sigma comp, the problem with the Widowmaker is that you just need to find so many picks on this point. Otherwise, you're just going to die. And you already see Prophet locking this Genji. If he comes out on Genji, MN3 just kind of sucks. Like, his pick just kind of sucks. Yeah, like, I agree. I could understand the Ashe of, like, we're going to play on high ground. We're going to have high damage. I understand the Hanzo. There's value in both of those. I just don't like the Widow pick. And it seems like Seoul know it's coming. Prophet's coming out of the Widow to mirror this, which I just don't really like. And, like, Prophet goes Cassie. So it's like the Widow kind of should get value because of what Seoul Dynasty is playing. But even then, like, you can see MN3's already losing sightlines. This was a weird fight as well. Like, so we see, like, Seoul Dynasty are like, oh, we can just flip the map and we can just take the good positioning from the Widow. But then, like, Lee Soo-min didn't get the memo. MN3 gets the kill on the Prophet, but, like, I don't know, like, I don't know what happened here. Like, of, like, how Lee Soo-min just... Prophet's just going to the other spawn. And Lee Soo-min just stayed main. So... Void does get a late kill on Zest, and MN3 does get a couple of picks, you know? I'm not doubting MN3 on Widowmaker at all. It's just what happens when the picks dry up in a way. So I think Genji would have gone crazy here for Prophet. I think if Prophet had just gone Genji, it would have been nice. Did Meg play a bad Sigma here? He seemed to miss shots on people close to him. There was a clip where he missed a rock and then shot on Widow next to him with Seoul Dynasty caps. I'm not sure. Wow. Dude, MN3's going fucking wild right now on the Widowmaker. Doing what he's got to do, right? Shows the value of the Pog picks. Oh, Prophet does switch over to Genji. Nice. I don't know. I feel like we didn't see enough of Mag Pov to really, like, get a great idea. And I was also more just molding at everything else Seoul Infernal was doing to really give good context of, like, was Mag playing bad at Sigma. But they're also, like... this is the problem with the Widowmaker as well, right? MN3 gets the pick here. So let's look when this happens, right? So there was some trades on the first fight, and then Prophet's going to switch, but like Seoul Infernal like can't hold position. They're playing double sniper Sigma, but they're not really anchoring anything. They're not stopping the car from moving. So MN3 gets this pick, and they can't push their objective or their agenda at all from here. Like So Mag steps up a little bit, throws a rock, but, you know, everyone's trying to get some more picks and do some shots, but Seoul doesn't really need to do anything, right? They're just kind of like chilling, no more follow through, and now they're actually pushing the cart up the ramp, and Infernal actually concede at a 5v4 advantage to just fall further back. So now if MN3 dies once at this point, loses the Widow Duel once, all of a sudden this starts tumbling down, or you just have Prophet go Genji like I was saying, and you just play aggressive in that manner. Like lamp down, all of a sudden that can't be used for anybody else. Does this count as cheese? What, like the Widow Hanzo? I don't think it counts as cheese. I think it's just a pick comp, which is super dangerous. Good flux. Prophet gets MN3. So MN3 and Zest just don't get kills for very long, and then they just win. But then, so Void's gotten 3 in this one already. Mag gets the flux out. Skewed has the rally going. Void gets skewed. Oh, that was pretty bad by Mag. Yeah, he literally missed everything. Void gets Mag. Void rocks Zest. MN3 kills Lee Soo-min. But, like, coming back, like, why is MN3 back on the Widow? Like, I understand you have walls, but, like, this is, like, desperation, right? Like, why are you coming back on Widow? Like, come back Sombra, come back Soldier, come back something fast. Because if he'd come back Soldier, right, he probably would have been in this fight already, and he could have been there to kill Void. Like, he could have just sat in this window and just shot down, and they're in a really good spot. Yeah, it's kind of hard to, like, criticize the pick by MN3 when he does keep getting value picks against BAP, but that's, like, best case scenario, and it still doesn't feel great, right? And then, like, this is the problem, right? Like, they don't have the damage or the consistent damage to do anything, right? And Seoul Dynasty close out that map. So this is really when I was like, Seoul Infernal kind of doing some silly season strange shit here as well. So that was a weird map. And I think that wasn't as much Seoul Dynasty. I think they played well, and I think they made the right swaps, right? Like Void played great on the Sigma. I think Prophet, switching to the Genji and finding value against that double sniper. Like that was all just smart heads up play, you know, the way they played the defensive. So I like the way Seoul Dynasty approached the map. But I didn't like it at all by Infernal, and leads back into the narrative of, I think Infernal are the better team in terms of synergy and coordination, but I think their macro in just like the heroes and the swaps and the adjustments just isn't as good as Dynasty. So now we get like a true head-to-head. Seoul Dynasty comes out on the Winston Tracer Sombra, but they're playing the Lucio Kiriko compared to Infernal's Brig Ana. We've seen Lucio Kiriko in the past. It allows you to sort of like buff the tempo. Obviously, that's kind of the style that was played in the grand finals. And I think we've seen a bunch of teams playing it in the West where you sort of, it's kind of like the playoffs meta where you death ball, just engage as a unit. With the buffs to Brig and like how much value Brig's been getting, I would probably lean towards favoring the Brig Ana. I think it's just more consistency. And the problem with Seoul Dynasty playing this Lucio Kiriko here is, right, so their advantage that they have is the Lucio speed boost, right? But they're not really engaging and they can't get onto the Ana Brig, so it feels like overall they're just going to have less healing, and they're not going to have as much solo targeting healing, so they're probably going to lose someone first, and there's Bellisria, right? Bellisria gets targeted down instead of having Brig packs, instead of having, you know, an Ana nade or eventually a Nano. You just kind of lose. And I think the Nano Boost and the Rally are generally better ultimates in a Winston Tracer Sombra meta than the Sound Barrier and the Kiriko Kitsune Rush, right? The Sound Barrier is good. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, even especially because the EMP doesn't remove overhealth shields. We learned that from our last VOD review. But it still does big damage against the thing. So Sound Barrier is still a good ultimate. Obviously, you can Ajax and all that type of stuff, but I don't think Kitsune Rush is as good because if people aren't playing together and all grouped in Tracer Sombra, it can still get good value, but I would rather just have a Nano Rally. Yeah, you just run from Kitsune, right? Like, if they drop a good Kitsune, you should just play against it, right? And you can rally against that, while the Nano Boost is just so impactful of getting your Winston in. This is a funny EMP. So, MN3 is, like, waiting for them to engage, and then I think they engage way faster than MN3 was expecting it. Look at this again. Like, MN3 is like, guys, I'm in the best position ever. As soon as they start stepping forward, I'm going to EMP. And they, like, go, and he's just not ready. He's just, boom. Only hits Prophet on the Tracer, who's, like, pretty far away. But I really wish we could... this is why I wish we had the replay viewer, right? Obviously, that was like EMP, Pulse Bomb, Rally, Nano from Infernal. So that was a lot of ultimates, but why didn't Prophet EMP? And you can't really see it. I want to see if I can see it from this perspective. Where is Prophet? So it looks like they've done a big engagement, but they need to get value out of their EMP. They use the Kitsune Rush on engage, which I kind of like. They like TP in and then... But Prophet is nowhere really to be seen. I don't really even know where he is still in this fight. Ends up teleporting out, but Prophet just wasn't ready. So they like didn't really play to their advantage. I'm so mad that it worked. Yeah, and that's sort of it. Like, it shouldn't have worked. Like, it was a pretty bad EMP from MN3. They just didn't have the response. Lucio Min goes over to the Ana. So now they're playing Lucio Ana, which I really don't like. I think Ana just gets kind of bullied in this setup. Lucio just doesn't have the protection of a Brig. And that's sort of why you can play the Lucio Kiriko, because Kiriko just protects herself with her own ultimate abilities. So there's first cap, and Seoul Dynasty are trying to set up their own EMP. I actually kind of like this EMP. That's a good EMP. As much as the kill didn't come through as quickly as they would have liked, that's the right EMP. I think you just EMP the Ana, kill him, but I don't know how Skewed gets one on the way out of that. Like, that's just good play from Infernal, and, you know, Fixer was there to pack and make sure that Skew stayed alive for as long as he could. So it's good play, but that was an expensive fight for Seoul Dynasty that they kind of didn't get big value out of. Primal from Mag. I don't love this Primal by Mag. I think Mag thought he had more of his team around him. Like, they did get a couple of picks, but I think Mag, like, no one's around him, right? Like, it's, what, 1v4? His backline's on the high ground. Oh, yeah. Don't worry, guys. Prophet's EMPs. I'm giving him credit for that one because it gets worse, you know? If it hits Skewed, yeah, but I think it's hard to just be like, oh, just let it hit Skewed as Fixer as well. Like, that's... A good team has a good enough dive that it doesn't matter. Prophet dies. Like, once again, I don't know how Prophet dies here. I don't know if they find his translocator or... So, no, he translocates out, but I think MN3 was waiting at the translocator. So I wonder if he was waiting at his translocator, waiting for it, like, to call to, like, break it, and then he ended up just, like, TPing into his face with 50 health. That has to be. So they end up going for a 4v5 beat engage to try and, like, overcome the odds. And it actually works quite well. I really liked this play from Krillin and the Dynasty to, like, well, fuck it, let's just beat engage. Because otherwise, like, that would have been a really awkward fight to take. Doesn't really pay off in the end. Just sort of falls against it, but I could have gone either way. Actually, no, it does work for them, actually. They do win that fight.
And it's sort of being contested back here on this point.
Which is, that's a good heads-up play. Oh, nice shot by Bellisria. So with just a trade of the beat, they get a bunch of EMP charge, they win the team fight, and I don't think Infernal were ready for that level of aggression. So that was a good play. What are the things the monkeys are doing that us Hardstock Diamond players are need to learn from? You need to be right-clicking on every single jump if you aren't doing it. Because that is where a lot of your damage comes from, is like charging up right-clicks and then jumping in, shooting it, landing, melee, zap. The whole thing. I wonder when they're going to fix this rally bug of like it actually being armor. Because Brig actually feels quite susceptible to death. If you guys aren't aware, right now, the 100 armor that you're supposed to get from Brig Rally, I believe, is actually not armor, it's health. But an important thing that Seoul Dynasty fucked up, and, you know, we're going to go back here and watch this. So Seoul are like, well, shit. They're re-engaging. Let's engage in this room, okay? Let's go with our Nano Winston, and we'll zip-zap them as we go. Hack comes out. Unfortunately, does not get the hack onto Skewed. Nano's getting value. Mag kills Lee Soo-min. Krillin's just fucking diving deep. Just goes, yo, later Lee Soo-min, good luck on your own. But the important thing, this card's moving. This card's fucking moving. I don't know who's on it. I think it's Mag. No, it's Zest. So Zest takes the bot, and Seoul doesn't win this fight, like, convincingly at all. I think the Infernal ends up winning. So this is like a counterplay by the Infernal of like, now we got a ridiculous advantage from taking the bot, getting the advantage. They get the forward spawn checkpoint, and they're already pushing the bot. Seoul Dynasty does start pushing it back, but at that point, they've lost the team fight, and Infernal can set up their own, right? They have to give it up.
Yeah, and Infernal, because they win that team fight as well, they are going to start getting control.
Thoughts on the IMAX overall as a goal? I think it's a good ultimate. I think the only weakness to the IMAX ultimate right now is that you don't get the 100 armor. You only get like over health or like more health, so it doesn't count as armor, which is a big deal, especially in a Winston Tracer Sombra meta. But you know, we'll see. I think the bash isn't as strong as people were thinking it was going to be. Like the IMAX bash is good, but it's not game breaking. All right, so MN3 MP. Oh yeah, this is a bad one. Who wants to see a memp? We don't really see how it goes down, but Prophet drops an EMP, hits nobody. Is it 200 HP and 100 armor instead of the intended 150, 150? I'm not exactly sure what it is, but like, yeah, there's something wrong with the way that it's coming out, that it's not as strong as it should be.
EMPs as well, and he's already building it back up to 22%. So the Seoul Dynasty not coming up with any answers, and they've had to mirror the compositions, but Mag's gonna pop this final raise, just stay alive.
Yeah, Krillin eventually goes over to the brig, and I think this is like a consistent theme throughout push and control and just the first weekend overall. If you watch it, almost every single team slowly trends back to Winston, Tracer, Sombra, Brig, Ana. And I think if you want to be successful, you should probably put all your eggs in that basket right now for this stage, because I think that is what is going to be the dominant composition. We saw teams try some Reinhardt, some Junker Queen, some all that kind of stuff, but everyone always goes back to the Winston, Tracer, Sombra. And I think getting good at that composition is going to be the big defining factor. That juggle? Yeah, no one's ever doubted how good Mag is at Winston, especially with mechanics. It's his decision-making from time to time that really costs him. Most diverse meta? It's also how every single meta ends up being, right? It's always going to be diverse at the start when everyone's scrimming different teams, everyone's coming to different conclusions, everyone's trying different things. But as soon as people... Wow, that's such a good stick. Holy fuck. As soon as enough time goes through, good trade by Zest. Zest is like been sneakily great this entire match as well. Is that like metas always trend in the same direction, and there's always going to be one prominent comp that comes out on top, and I think it will be that Winston, Tracer, Sombra. And a part of me thought that maybe APAC would be playing more of this like Zaya or Junker Queen stuff. That's what the rumors were in scrims, but we didn't really even see that from APAC. If anything, APAC played more Winston, Tracer, Sombra than the West. Even on Koth, I think Koth is where you'll see some disagreements on certain points, right? And I think we saw a bit of Junker Queen on maps without high grounds. We saw a little bit of Rush and stuff like that. But I think overall, we will get back to a point of like 70% of the meta will be this Winston, Tracer, Sombra stuff. Much better EMP from Prophet here. Right? Like that's the EMPs you need to get. Drops it, follow-ups there, great execution. Seoul Infernal doesn't even have the opportunity to counter it. The Hanzo Tracer has been really fun to watch, and I think you'll see bits and pieces of Hanzo Tracer, and I think you'll see it on certain maps, like Kings Row, I think will always become a Hanzo playground, like Hollywood, and just a bunch of those hybrid maps, but on maps like this, like Esperanza, you can't play Hanzo. Like, Sombra's just a better pick.
They can't get bunched up in here for a big EMP, as you can see. MN3 trying to find this one, but they've done a good job of spreading out. It goes on to Prophet. Great execution.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Prophet and Krillin, by the looks of it there, got EMP'd. Nice little hack, nice little kill.
Why? You know, you got to play what's good, right? Diverse meta in general feels more fun, yeah. But there's no matter how well you balance, everyone's always gonna go to some point where everyone agrees something is different. There's never gonna be a situation where there's multiple compositions that go 50-50 against each other. Even if it's just 1 percentage point over time, people will work it out. It's a big primal. Massive primal. Massive nade as well coming from Skewed towards the end of that. No, I'm not gonna lie, I really, really like dive metas. I think we all really like dive metas. The only frustrating thing is that I think Sombra is not very interesting. Sombra kind of takes a lot of the fun away from dive. Like, if we're in a Winston Tracer Genji, don't fucking sign me and everyone up. But Sombra kind of throws a wrench in it and then sort of removes a lot of the fun.
The man who needs to come up with another great EMP. He did very well.
This is going to be up on YouTube, yeah.
Needs to find value if the Dynasty are going to start turning this around.
Or the bash comes out, but not without the rally. EMP was good, but I don't like. Where's the follow up, right? And I think a lot of people, when they see this kind of stuff, they blame the Sombra. Where's Bellis Rhea and where's Prophet, right? EMP goes out. Obviously, it's being conned. Prophet's there. Bellis Rhea is there, actually. They just can't kill him. Great play by Skewed, actually. I didn't notice it at the time, but Skewed and Fix are actually managing to live through a pretty solid dive. Bellis Rhea maybe wasn't able to zap just off the bat. And, getting into that corner. I kind of feel like opening with EMP might not be ideal, but it's kind of hard to not open with EMP. If you try to open without EMP, it opens... All of a sudden, you can be walking into your own trap, right? EMP is built to sort of lay the trap. If you try and get greedy with it, it just doesn't work. And there's the map to the Seoul Infernal. And I think more credit needs to go to the Infernal backline for how well they're keeping each other alive. There were multiple dives there which were quite good that just sort of got shut down by the Brigana. And I think that's going to show how strong the Brigana is. All right, where are we going? Oasis. Oh, boy, Oasis. Surely there's no way. Surely there's no way Seoul Infernal lose Oasis playing Winston Tracer Sombra. So who threw on Infernal? Okay, going into this, okay, let me just get... Seoul Infernal loses, but going up 99%. I want to see if Infernal actually threw. Because my takeaway when I watched this series live was it didn't feel like Infernal threw as much. It felt like Dynasty actually just like started executing great dives and they started playing actually well. But I could be wrong. Like, I want to see if Infernal did fumble, but I don't believe they did. I think it was more of a clutch up rather than a throw by the Infernal. Look at that. Look at Scooter. Oh, okay. People need to put more respect on Fixer. Fixer's doing a great job. Like, this isn't the greatest lives ever by Dynasty, but there's a lot of situations in the past where the Infernal backline would have died. Skewed dies and all that type of stuff, right? I'm going to say it once again. I said it on Esperanza. I don't think the Lucio Kiriko is good. And they're making a switch here. Prophet runs into traffic just to, I think goes to the Sojourn, right? And I don't agree. I don't like this composition anymore. I think the Brigana is just better. I think the Sombra has gotten so much more damage. I think you're really at the mercy of the Sojourn. But we've seen a lot of teams and players sort of moving in this direction. Maybe they know something I don't. Zest gets Krillin. Prophet just walks into a trap. You think Brigana? Yeah, I think Brigana is really good right now. In any meta where Winston is meta, playing Brigana is always going to be in the right direction. Reaper does fuck all. Yeah, people absolutely need to hang up the Reaper, right? Like, the other team... Who was the other team who died on the Reaper sword? The London Spitfire when they lost to Boston Uprising to the Raid boss. And, like, Sparker held his fucking Death Blossom for, like, 20 years because it's just a hard ultimate to get value from, right? Is Anakiri still good? I think it's okay. I think it's better on like hybrid and control when you're... And the Gladiators showed this with Babel, right? Where you can play aggressive with your Kiriko. I don't know how Prophet finds this shot. How does Prophet find this shot? I think they almost waited too long to drop this EMP because like you're opening the window for these kind of shots to come through. But yeah, killing Skewed here is fucking enormous. Because the follow-up just wasn't there. And Mag wasn't ready for that as well. Like he came in late to that EMP. So... Definitely, that would be a mistake and a little bit of a choke, I would say, by Infernal. I don't know how that ends up happening. Waiting for Nano? Yeah, but Urana's dead, so maybe Mag didn't want to go with Skewed dead. And I do want to admit here, I don't like this MN3 swap. I think he should have stayed on the Sombra. I think the Sombra's going to find net value, but I think MN3 will do anything he can to not be on the Sombra and go to a hit scan. rally. I really like that idea of Zest putting pressure onto the point. That it kind of like forces the Seoul Dynasty to go back and forth. Yeah, like Seoul kind of just got spread thin here. And they actually get the cap here early, which is huge because now they're actually ticking up in a one fight. And now Dynasty are just like, this is going to be a bad look for Krillin, but he has to do it, right? He's going to have to do this beat. I think this maybe was a little... I think he had to drop the beat there, but I think he could have trusted and believed in himself a little bit more than he did. Prophet's going to have to go crazy. Hits the first shot onto the Ana, which is wild. If this was, what, the playoffs, that would have killed the Ana, and the Ana would be dead, and this fight would be very different. And that's sort of why I don't think Sojin is as good anymore, is you just don't have that execution style that made Sojin such a good character in the past. Would you rather die mid or keep him when he's dead? Well, and that's the argument, right? You're like, if he, let's say whatever happens, like he greeds it a little bit, he jumps off to the point and then he gets like executed by the Sojin. I think that, and then you potentially just lose the fight. But if he held that and just managed to live, even just holding it that little bit longer, like come back around, circle back around, because I don't think he was really taking any damage when he dropped the beat. Then they could have come back with the sound barrier. He could have used that sound barrier later that sort of enables his team a little bit more. But, you know, it's a bad situation, right? I don't think you can really fault him too much for it.
Infernal just playing at a different level. I love the coordination that we're seeing from them. Mag is that tip of the spear, just playing aggressive. And here was the shot. Wait, actually, I can't remember exactly what part of this. Oh, this is the follow-up with the Reaper, yeah, when they were able to get these cleanups. And this was after that great shot from Prophet to open up this round. So
I'm excited. Ready to see how Infernal choked this one. I'm curious as well. I'm very interested to know how this was choked.
And they lose the first round as we go over.
I don't blame Krillin for not having much faith in his Lucio mechanics. That was the most backhanded compliment I've ever heard. I don't blame Krillin for it. He's a bad Lucio. All right, so we got Brigana, Tracer Hanzo, and I actually kind of like the Tracer Hanzo in here. I think you can definitely make an argument for the Sombra, but the Hanzo can actually find pretty good value on this point, and we've actually seen a lot of teams going towards the Tracer Hanzo on this round specifically.
Dynasty are going to concede it. M3 is actually taking a bit of an off angle. Is Prophet trying to sort of move him away from that one? But
Yeah, Prophet just gets caught there. Good play by MN3. 120 damage with a fully charged. And MN3 Hanzo, it pounded this entire series. That's 3Ks right there. 4K by MN3. Just doing so much damage. Yeah, Brig can be hard. Yeah, and it's hard to get into like value with the Sombra in these narrow hallways. It's hard to get onto the back line. Like, EMPs can be difficult to get. I don't think it's bad to play Sombra here, but I can definitely understand the Hanzo pick from both. Lil P seems a lot more flexible than I expected. I agree. I think Lil P played a lot of good looks. I think his Sombra needs a little bit of work, which, you know, that's a lot of hit scan players. Oh, that's a great nade by Lee Soo-min. Just kills Skew. Zest gets Prophet. The pulse bomb. What was your impression of Bellisria? Honestly, Bellisria looked exactly like I imagined him to be. His Winston is good. Not well, you know, not Smurf or not the best in the world. That was a smart play to jump up. And his ball's good, right? Like, I don't think Bellisria is going to be the defining factor for Seoul Dynasty to be the best, but at least they have a main tank player now, right? I prefer Bellisria Winston to Void Winston. I haven't even seen Void Winston, and I agree to that. What about the Brigana makes it good is... The thing that makes Brigana good is... Who do you dive in the Brigana composition? If you dive the Brig, she can get hit with the nade and then healed almost permanently if the Ana can get line of sight. If you dive the Ana can nade herself and she gets Brig packed and then she gets heals up for a time. They protect each other so well. And the Ana is able to play far back and provide healing to your dive and add value, while the Brig can push people around as they try and get around. So it's just a very defensive setup that enables your dive. All right, here we go. 80% for the Seoul Infernal. How do they fuck this one up? Look at the ults. Yeah, they got the rally, they got the dragon, they got the nano coming up.
Prophet trying to mark him as much as he possibly can. Look at the pressure actually coming from Seoul.
MN3 gets nanoed. That's kind of like a weird position for MN3 to get into. That's okay. There's kind of a fumble. They literally just use 3 ultimates and gain nothing. Like, and that's, I feel like that all goes back to MN3's positioning just being really fucking weird. Like, why was MN3 just standing on the floor? Gets bubbled so he can't get healed. So then they end up nanoing him, and then Fixer rallies to try and like deal with the aggression. And then MN3 dragons, and they don't really find anything. So that was definitely big. That was some big mistakes. But, like, that's not a gargantuan throw. Like, obviously that's bad ultimates, but, you know, there's aggression that they feel like they had to do. The primal from Bellisria forced that out. Strike 1, yeah. Like, that wasn't a throw, but it wasn't great. Isn't Jack? Yeah, Dragon's kind of a throwaway. Jack was calling it a cosmetic ult in this series, which is kind of true. Like, Dragon's just kind of very difficult to find value on, especially on a map like this.
Is coming up, but the same thing for the Seoul Infernal. So we will see the neutral fight. And Infernal are trying to sort of herd the Dynasty into a corner as MN3's, he's going to find a purchase at some point. The Dynasty do need to be careful.
All right, Zest, what you got for us? You got a pulse bomb. It's got Prophet's name on it, surely.
Nano engage. MN3, the target again. Okay, so they get a first pick. How do they lose this? Fixer's asleep? Oh! He misses Fixer and kills Skewed. I don't know how Skewed died to that pulse bomb. I don't think he was expecting that. Bellisria gets Fixer. So they just lose their backline. Mag's going to commit anyway. Like, I don't think this is a bad commitment from Mag. Bellisria can answer with his own primal. So, this wasn't really a throw, I don't think. Like, yeah, obviously Mag kind of wanted our back, but it was kind of an even fight at that point. And to force Bellisria's primal, so that's not... oh, wow, 2 health. Yeah, that was greedy by Zest. Zest was fighting way too hard for that without his team. Like, that is a mistake. And then once again, they're going to try and commit further. Nano Mag, like... It felt like they just didn't need to reset. But then they get the trade on a Prophet and they're like, oh, we can win. Let's commit more ultimates. And then Rally comes out from Krillin and like, what do you do at this point? They get Bellisria. Dude, how do they lose this? Krillin gets Mag. Oh, Diley Sumin. Oh, no. Oh, man. Why did Fixer rally? I think that might have been a mistake from Fixer. I think Fixer just like gets it and just presses Q. It's like he's spamming his Q button waiting to get it, but I don't think they were under any duress or any threat at that fight. Yeah, like he just pops it and Soul's like, okay, well, I guess we'll just juggle the point for a little bit, right? Like, there's not even a tank here. I think that's a mistake by Fixer, for sure. And then the Bellisria Doom comes through. The Nano Bellisria. Let's go. Gets both backliners. And like that's it, right? Like if he had the rally for that, Doomfist wouldn't have done anything, right? There would have been so much overhealth coming through. They would have been able to clean everything up and it would have been fine. I think the biggest story that happened there was the Fixer rally. But even then, like they're in a good spot. Prophet stick is crazy as well. And then he kills 2 with the seismic slam, bro. Oh my god. Prophet just goes sicko mode.
And it's going to be so valuable with the composition that the Infernal has. There will be a touch coming out, but it's going to be desperation here for the Infernal. Krillin has the rally. Are they going to go aggressive with this one? They're going to have to. There you go. Rally in. Pushed in.
That media strike gave me Houston versus Atlanta flashbacks. Oh no. Bellis Rio Doomfist, honestly, dude, he's got the tech. It's there.
Seoul Infernal, they've already lost MN3.
Yeah, like Mag, like, and that's the thing is like I really want to think it does. Like nothing about this is like a massive throw, right? Like nobody like hard choked, nobody hard trolled. It just kind of felt like they just weren't effectively trading. Like, how did they not trade back for some of these things or just win any of those fights? They were like, that was on a knife's edge for so much, but like, it was like little things, but also you got to give credit to Dynasty. Like, Dynasty played well. Bellis Rio went fucking sicko mate on that Doomfist. Prophet was doing well on the Tracer, finding sticks, like important sticks as well. Yeah, the fixer rally is the throw. I think that's the big throw that you got to speak to.
We go to round 3 as Seoul Dynasty will not go down without a fight.
No, they will not.
Not resetting after losing point. Yeah, that one of like Zest going aggressive after, and then he gets killed by the Hanzo was really bad as well. Like their team was like resetting and then then Zest goes and then they nano mag in after Zest dies, right? Like they just needed one good fight.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Instantly, Bellis Rio back it up. Doesn't want to get booted.
So Fixer on the Lucio, I didn't really love this Lucio's, like, think about it. You're playing Hanzo. Why is Fixer playing Lucio? Is this literally just to go for that first boop? Like, is that really worth it to play Lucio? Like, Lucio's just not a good pick. Chio gets, so yeah, but, you know, we can't all be Chio, right? And I think that's not a reliable strategy. Bro thinks he's Chio, actually. But, like, I think you'd much rather have a Brig. Obviously, MN3 gets the first pick, the log from across the map, but... Early high ground control, but he left his team behind, so he doesn't even really get that much control. Like, maybe, but is that worth playing a Lucio in this entire map? I wonder if that's, like, one of the things that comes back to bite them in the end.
Give a quick sort of recognition to Mag on this Winston as well. His coordination with Zest has honestly been impeccable throughout this series. One of the reasons the Infernal have been sort of keeping up and being able to push this to so far. Mag has...
Why don't you look at the replay viewer? Yeah, I guess I haven't said this on YouTube yet, but the replay viewer, we will not have access to it this year, chat. I'm sorry. I tried. I really tried. Literally to the point that I asked the question twice in the same meeting. But we're not getting the replay viewer this year. We're going to have to do it through YouTube. Hack goes on to skewed. MN3 gets profit on the dive. And this was like, this is just like a forced dive. It doesn't feel like they have any positioning, but they don't really have any ultimate, so it's kind of hard. But it's kind of a good defensive setup. And it just executes them.
What can you do when Hanzo's on fire like this? It's almost impossible to shut them down. Like, that's a complete team wipe.
Yeah, and Skewed is just hitting sleep after sleep as well. Every time, like, Skewed and Fix are just coordinating so well. Infernal just synergy right...
What are your thoughts on Dynasty in this match? I think Dynasty were good. I don't think they were as good as Infernal. Maybe if I thought about it more, I don't like doing a power rankings where I put a team that lost above a team that won, especially with such a little sample size. But they look solid. There's just some weird looks. They don't look that comfortable on these Winston Sombra compositions. So we actually finally get a good dive here, and I don't know if this is a solo kill from Prophet. I actually want to go have a look for it. Yeah, so Prophet hacks Skewed, and he just kind of kills him alone. Fixer not able to follow through. Maybe there was some help from Prophet on that one, but they get both backliners for some, what feels like free. MN3 still getting picks. Gets 2. Dude, MN3 is always good for 2. Time to mass downvote the Owl broadcast until they give us the replay reel. Please don't do that. Let's just enjoy the matches. Well, no need to be mad. I think we were very lucky that we had it last year. Nano onto the rally. I like it. Like, this is good play, right? Like, good sleep onto Mag, then Nano onto the Brig to keep him alive. Like, this is good. This is good. And if you're Soul, you just need to reset, right? Like, it's time to reset. Don't make the same mistakes you did last time. All right. So if you're Infernal, you need to get these fights out quick, right? You know that you're in an ultimate disadvantage. They got the rally, the EMP. If you can get both of those out in one team fight, you take those. EMP comes through, boom. And like, honestly, Prophet, that's a good EMP again. Like, that's Prophet finding massive value. And this is also why I didn't like Fixer on the Lucio before, is like, now all of a sudden they don't have the rally to counter this, right? Like, he's not even going to get up to a rally just yet. Now Emmett3 decides he has to switch to the Sombra. Once again, everything trends back towards Winston Tracer Sombra Brig.
Get some more aggression for themselves, but we go into mirror compositions, but Dynasty have done a great job of holding on to these ultimates. They
Prophet Pulse and get another one 60 seconds later. Yeah.
there at 60% in the
15 seconds later.
They have their backs against the wall.
Another hack onto Skew. Can Skew survive? Fixes on the other
Skewed should survive that, yeah. Mag Primals gets the rally out. So, like, this is good for Infernal, right? This is good, but you're going into last fight.
Yeah, that was close. 40 HP.
Emmett3 is getting a quick EMP. Fixer gets purpled, gets the rally off and kills Prophet. That's a big play.
Shield bash by the looks of it from Fixer there, stunning them up and helping find the kill. There's the nano boost onto Bell.
Nano boost onto Palace, ready to go aggressive. Oh my god, the fucking nade. Where did that nade come from? Look at Lee Soo-min here. Lee Soo-min hits the nade onto Fixer and MN3. Gets Fixer killed, MN3 dies. Skewed has to throw the nano. Like, I genuinely don't think Infernal threw this. Like, this was just big plays by Seoul Dynasty. Like, obviously they didn't play well to close out the series, but I just think Seoul Dynasty counted them at every single corner, right? Skew wastes his nano. Well, like, what's he gonna nano? He kind of needs to nano there, right? Like, you need to nano engage. It's last fight. You don't want to die with it. And then MN3, yeah, gets hacked out of EMP. Even if he hits that EMP, I don't think it matters, right? Yeah, like, Prophet just literally clutched up on Sombra at the end. Gives some credit. Prophet just hitting pulse bombs, doing so much work, and the backline just, like, making big plays. Like, it wasn't great, but I think Seoul Dynasty just played better in that round. Which is a little bit of a choke because it did feel like they were 99-0 both rounds. So there is an element of choke there, right? But I think it's better clutch from the Seoul Dynasty. Who's player of the match in your opinion? I think Prophet won player of the match. I think Prophet 100% deserves player of the match of this series. He was incredible. If Seoul Infernal won, I think it was going to be MN3. I was going to give it to MN3. MN3 got so much value with the Hanzo. It is kind of hard. You can see how much it means. You know, like any map 5 is going to be a banger, right? Lil P. Yeah. And that, chat, is the Seoul Derby. The first one goes to Seoul Dynasty, and they get to remain Seoul Korea, Seoul Korea, Seoul Korea, Seoul Korea, Seoul Korea, Seoul Korea. They are still those guys. Infernal will have to come back for that rivalry. As I said throughout this VOD review, Infernal, if they can work out some of their compositions, maybe don't play Mercy Bastion. They stick around playing their Winston Tracer Sombra and able to clutch up and sort of close out some of these series, they'll look like a strong team. Seoul Dynasty obviously has a lot to work through as well. I think both of these teams would likely struggle against Guangzhou and Hongzhou's. So the Zhous will be hard for the Souls to beat. But hey, we won't know until we find out. There's a lot of banger matches coming up this week, and I think Guangzhou's playing Hongzhou. That is all my VOD reviews for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Lots more matches to talk about. Lots more matches to happen. I will not be co-streaming this weekend, unfortunately, because I will be casting. So, take the good with the bad. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more VOD reviews, more weekly recaps. Love you all, and I'll see you guys next time.